Hi guys, it's Bob here again from Rockbeare Guitars. First of all, a big apology to my subscribers because I hadn't posted for months. No excuse really, laziness and quite busy doing lots of stuff which I'll talk about. I guess this show is really a bit of a gear fest because in the several months that I hadn't posted, I picked up quite a lot of stuff and I'd like to kind of talk through it in case any of it's interesting or useful to you. Maybe I'll start at the back actually. I'll start with the guitar I'm holding. No, it's not new. This is my 1954 Les Paul standard gold top that I've had for ages, but I have had some work done on it. Reason is it's a 72-year-old guitar coming up. So, you know, like its owner, showing a bit of signs of age. And I had a friend around recently who played the hell out of it, made a great sound out of it. But while he was playing it just afterwards, the guitar began to fail. I began to lose my bridge pickup. So obviously I was shit scared because I thought, oh God, you know, if the windings in the pickup go, that's complicated, difficult, expensive, and you lose the original pickup. So I messed around with the guitar and I managed to fix it temporarily. First of all, it seemed to be the wafers in the pickup switch. So I managed to clean them up a bit, temporary state of execution. Then I got some jips, still on the bridge pickup, always the bridge pickup, on the tone control. And I thought, okay, tone control could have gone. Got my measuring equipment out. Didn't really make any sense. And you know, when you measure something, you want it to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's probably wrong. So I asked my good friend Stuart Robson at Sunday Guitars about it, and he took the guitar in and has done what I can only describe as an incredible job. He's really basically taken the electrical side of the guitar apart. He's gone into each piece he's taken apart and he's checked everything out. We knew there was some damage to the top wafer of the P90 pickup in the neck position. We knew that already. Turns out it was a bit worse than we thought, but the pickup's fine. He's stabilized it, stabilized the magnets, checked their Gauss readings, all the rest of it, checked the windings, same on the bridge. The switch ended up being fine. The pots in this guitar are, this guitar probably had work done on it. I've had it about 23 years. This guitar had work done on it before I got it. I bought it from Rumble Seat Music in the States. Shout out to Elliot there, great dealer. But this guitar probably had work done on it either by them to sell it or by the previous owner. The strange thing about the guitar is that it shows a lot of signs of having been quite heavily used, and yet it's not all worn and cracked and smashed up like a lot of gold tops are. It's really, it's almost a case queen. So it's strange. It's a case queen that's had a lot of use, which is actually nirvana for a guitar. For a guitar collector and player, it's nirvana. I had the legendary guitar repairer Bill Paplett refret it about 20 years ago because the frets, there was no meat left on them at all when I got it. It was really like playing a Les Paul Custom Fretless Wonder. It was just slippery. And he did the most magnificent job, so the fret work I've had done. The guitar is original and it's in pretty great shape. And now that Stuart's attended to it, and I'll put his details, you know, on screen. It's basically got a new lease of life. It sounds just fantastic. I mean, I'll play it briefly and I'll tell you what I'm playing through because that's the next chapter in this composite video. So here we are, gold top. I did learn a little trick the other day, by the way. This came from a chap who's sadly no longer with us, like Bill Paplett, very sad. His name was Ian Benson. He was the guitarist in a band called Pilot and then went on to an illustrious career as a session player. Some of my favourite work of his is actually on the Alan Parsons Project albums, where he played most of the lead guitars on it. Great guitar player, and apparently he used to, as a matter of course, when he started out plugging a guitar into an amp on a session, he'd take the tone controls down a couple of notches to about 8. And I've been trying that just on the basis that any trick like that I hear of, I give it a go and see if it works for me. It's quite interesting. On guitars wired like this in the old way, the tone control is a sort of secondary, slightly passive gain control, volume control. So what you're doing is you're actually taking the top end off the guitar, but you're also taking its output down just a smidge. And for the kind of music I play, a lower wound guitar rather than a super hot, DiMarzio super distortion, is what I want. I want a guitar that responds to touch and stuff like that. So it kind of works. So at the moment I've got volumes up on both pickups, so I've got the tone controls just knocked back for a bit. I'll just play a few seconds. So that's the neck pickup, bridge. It's really nicely balanced, the sounds great. The middle position is quite a revelation actually. I take the neck volume back just a touch, but just have both pickups, so these are in parallel. It's really tasty, I hope you can hear it. It's a really kind of chewy sound. This guitar, had it for ages. Basically, it's got a new lease of life by a fantastic overall electrical and fettling refurb by Stuart. So hats off to you, Stuart, you've done a fantastic job. So that's part one. Maybe part two, I don't think I've posted a video since I bought another amplifier. I didn't need one, but I go to a jam in North London quite often, and it's a really good jam. First of all, it's really well organised. The guy with the clipboard, Michael Goulding, or sometimes Mike Fulk, whose band I've played in, these guys are really on it. So they know most of the musicians who are coming along. They make sure they know everybody by their names. They've got some idea of their skill level. And they put bands together, and the turnarounds are quick. So the logistics of the jam are fantastic. Everybody gets their 5-10 minutes of fame. It's really good, it's really encouraging. And it's very encouraging and supportive of younger and newer players as well. It's not snooty and elitist and snobby, and all of us give everybody, each other, lots of space and airtime. It's really mutual. I can't recommend it highly enough. It happens at a pub called the Three Compasses in Hornsey in North London. Please don't all come at once, because then you will be disappointed. It's only a pub, but it's a great jam. One of the best I've been to. The other reason it's a great jam, and I discovered this after going for weeks and weeks, is all the guitar players sound fantastic, regardless of their skill level. How does that happen? The amps. The amps, there are two guitar amps, both the same. They're called Big Knobs, not the most auspicious name. The 30-watt twin channel handmade valve amplifiers made by a gentleman called Malcolm Hine in North London. I think Malcolm has quite an illustrious career as an amp designer and repairer. I think he used to work for Fender, Anyway, he's built these amps, and these are the house amps at this jam. And everybody sounds great. I took Ramon along one evening. He played my Firebird, and it sounded incredible. And that night I thought, come on, buy one of these amps. You've tried them and played them, and you've seen everybody else playing them. They're so good. There's no question that these are good amps. They're also very good on drive at very low volumes. That you can actually practice. This is the kind of amp you can turn down late at night and play through drive. It's not going to sound meaty. It never does. It can't. But these are some of the best amps I've heard for noodling around with a bit of drive and no pedals, just straight in. Really fantastic. So that's part two. The Hine amps. I'll post a picture. It's actually this purple thing down here, kind of hidden behind my guitar head and stuff like that. That's kind of what it looks like, but I'll post a decent picture. But again, I can't recommend these things highly enough. I actually met Malcolm Hine originally in a shop in East London. Sweet Amps, which is Jim Sweet's vintage amp shop. Real treasure trove, really worth a visit. And he's a great guy. He knows lots of stuff about amps, but he's repaired everything, sells vintage amps, tube amps. And Malcolm sometimes works from a workbench there the odd day. So that's where I came across him originally. That was when I made a visit to Jim's shop, originally just to make acquaintance, but actually then he put me onto the modification I think I've already talked about, which is in this chap here, my bog standard vanilla Fender Deluxe Reverb reissue, 22 watt, straight out the box, except I've taken the first tube out, disabling the first channel, but giving the second channel a little more gain. I've moved the tube that I took out into position number 6, which is the phase inverter tube, to give it a bit more gain. So the amp breaks up a little earlier, because this amp has to go quite loud before it breaks up. Helps to bring that point forward. But finally, Jim Sweet recommended to me a replacement speaker. So I've kept the original Jensen, but I've put in a Warehouse G12CS, I think it's called. It's an orange speaker, thank God it's inside a box because it's pretty bright orange. And it has a smooth cone, not a rippled, corrugated cone. And I was able to try these amps out in his shop because of what will become chapter 3 of this video. Anyway, tried them out, A-B'd them with my speaker and other speakers. Fortunately, he had other deluxe reverbs in there, so we actually had identical cabinets. And it was decision to replace my speaker with this Warehouse smooth cone was almost instantaneous. It took me a minute to decide. It's more of the same and better. It's sort of like they say about when you put a clon between your Strat and your amp. You sort of don't hear it, but you absolutely do. It's one of those. It's fantastic. So let's see where we got to. We've got High Amps, we've got Jim Sweet in his store, we've got my mod on the Deluxe Reverb reissue, but I think I've done a video about it already. So let's go back to Jim's shop for a minute. He introduced me to a gadget that I wouldn't normally have thought of buying. It's made by a company in America called Delisle, and it's a speaker switcher. Now, I would wave it in front of you now, except it's lashed up to all my wiring in here, or my speakers, so I won't, but I'll post a decent picture. What this device does, it's completely passive. It connects 4 amplifiers to 4 loudspeakers in any combination. Now, it won't connect an amplifier to an amplifier, so you're not going to get the amps blowing each other and shorting each other out. And it's got some dummy resistors inside it, so that if you do connect an amp to nothing, it meets a dummy resistor and the valves are placated. As long as you're not really, if it's cooking volume, you might be in trouble. But it's an amazing device for being able to sit down and listen to all kinds of different speakers through your amp instantaneously, with no delay while you unplug and plug and forget what the last one sounded like. And even better, if you get a mate round, you play, they twiddle the amp and switch the speakers, and there's no discontinuity at all. So you can really hear what the contribution, the very significant contribution of different speakers, whether it's a Celestian Blue or a Gold or a G1265 or an Emmons Red or a Jensen or a Fane or what, Uncle Tom Copley, whatever you like. It's a fantastic device. Now, I wouldn't have bought this. It cost a couple of £100. It's a bit of an extravagance. A bloke like me, it's fun, but you don't need it. But I actually bought it on behalf of all my group of friends because everybody I know wants to try speakers and amplifiers. So I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll buy this. And I won't exactly rent it out because I'm not that cheap, but I'll kind of loan it out to friends when they want to hear the effect of different speakers on their amps. And I've done that a few times, and it's been received with gratitude, and I've got the odd bottle of wine back for it. So I kind of bought it, yeah, it's mine, but I kind of bought it on behalf of the Massive because it struck me as a good idea. It was a really good investment. So I'll put a picture of that up. What's next? Right, so while we're talking, I've talked about the Delisle speaker switcher, so I might as well talk about something else. My mate Tony Berrington, who's a great builder and luthier and repairer and guitar player, quite a near neighbour of mine, He has got a wonderful collection of beautiful old amps. He's got a 1953 and a 1959 deluxe tweeds, both really well fettled, really well looked after, sound incredible. He's got an early 60s Vox AC30, and he's got one of those pointy fronted Watkins Dominator amps in fetching turquoise Tolex. And he was thinking, you know, it's great playing through two amps, it's great fun. So he was thinking, well, I'd like to play through more than one amp, so I'd like a switcher. Now I've got a switcher. This, of course, you need a switcher from the guitar, so you need an input switcher, not a speaker switcher. So I've got one that ABs between two different amps. It was made by Art, it's passive, it's got a ground lift, it's got a phase inverter, a phase switch, lift, reverser, whatever. And it works with two amps quite well. And it wasn't very expensive. But he wanted something that could switch through 4 amps. So he then went and found a company that I'd come across as well, because they do lots of MIDI switches and extensions for various different stomps and loop switcher type devices and stuff, all kinds of interconnects. So they're based in Brighton, and they've got the name Bright Onion. I wonder why? Because they're in Brighton. I think it's a one-man band. Very nice guy, very helpful. And Tony found him and found that he made a switcher, 1 in guitar, 4 out, each individually switchable. Square format, so 2 switches by 2. Tony asked if he could do it in a straight line. He said yes. So when Tony told me this, I said, oh, go on. How much is it? It wasn't very much money. I said, come on, order 2. 1 for you, 1 for me. Because I'd like one, it'd be bloody useful. Especially when you've got people coming around, you're demonstrating amps, you want to A-B quickly with the same guitar. And I said, look, he can't be making any profit on the one he's selling you. So if he makes 2, he's tooled up already. He might be able to make a bit of profit. If each of us buys one, he can make some profit on my second one. Come on, let's go for it. So Tony ordered 2. They're custom made, so Tony's has a red legend and red LEDs. Mine has a white legend and white LEDs. And you plug it into the mains here, and you've got an input here for your guitar, and you've got 4 outs, 1 for each of 4 amplifiers. Each of those outputs is individually switchable, and because it's individually switchable, you can have all 4 on if you want, or you can have 1 and 3, 2 and 4, whatever you like, or just number 1, in which case why bother. The first output is just straight out from the input. Obviously it doesn't need to have any ground lifting or phase switching. It's basically like a cable. But the second, third and fourth outputs have got both phase switches and ground lifts. And this is really important because if you combine 2 amplifiers with a straight splitter box, or even a splitter lead out of your guitar, 1 in 2, 1 in 3 chance of getting a really nasty hum loop. Some amps have a ground lift switch, gets by. If they don't, you're stuffed. This ground lift will remove the ground loop. It removes it electronically, so there's no lifting, no safety issues or signal issues. It's very useful. Phase is probably even more useful. Not all amplifiers work in the same phase. Single channel amps have 1 phase, they either work up or down. But if you've got a pair of amplifiers and you're playing them both clean, but they're of different sorts, what's going to happen is you're going to lose the bass. It's like, you might remember boom boxes from 30, 40 years ago. They had a mono, stereo and a wide switch. And all the wide switch was reverses the phase of the 2 stereo speakers. It makes the speakers sound much farther apart, which if you're talking about a little boombox is a really clever trick, but you lose bass. And when you're playing guitar, you don't really want two amps out of phase because it's going to sound all scooped and nasal and hollow. So you need to get the phases right. So when you're using two amps, you can check the phase both ways and see which one sounds fuller, richer. That's the right one. This becomes even more important when you start using two-channel amps and switching one or both of them, because usually the way an amplifier circuit topography is made, the amplifier actually switches phase when you add an extra gain stage, switch to the drive channel. So all of a sudden you've been playing along with your two amps, sounding glorious, in phase, and you click one to drive to get that wonderful, attack of the clean note and all the fizz and sing of the drive. Great combination. And all of a sudden all the bass goes and it sounds really puny. And you go, I'm supposed to sound like God and I sound puny. That's because the phase has switched. So what you can then do, okay, you've got to just lean down onto the floor, but you just click the phase switch, you're back in phase, happy days, off you go again. So the phase switch is really important. So this simple box, it's completely silent, the switches are really high quality. In fact, the whole thing is really high quality. I mean, there's an advertisement for Bright Onion's products. And again, I'll put the details up on the screen. Really great. So this is another geeky, gadgety box, but again, it's the kind of thing, if you're ever combining amps or A-Bing amps with a guitar, absolutely brilliant. And this cost me about £30 more than my one that just does two, which comes from the States. And this is much better made, much higher quality, it's much more silent. It's a good piece of kit. So, if you're not geeked out and bored silly already, there's more.